YouTube. How are you doing tonight? Mars Life. So, what I wanted to talk about tonight was our egos.
You about that money, man. You don't see it coming, man. You don't know your soul is up for auction. Changing hands so often. Thought we got him back and then we lost him. You about that money, man. You don't see it.
Okay? So, our egos are that part of our mind, that part of our thought process, that aspect of our thought process that keeps us safe, that protects us. So our ego will tell you do not run into traffic because you could potentially get hit. Your ego will tell you do not say that because that person will perceive you as bad or good. Your ego will tell you, oh man, you have to keep up this image. You have to spend your money in this way. You have to not trust this individual. The ego is that aspect of us that has years of conditioning and programming and holds and fuels a lot of our belief systems, right? So the ego can become overly expressed. And I see that a lot. I see it with my clients, where everything is all about, that self preservation. Everybody's out to get me. This person has the wrong intentions towards me. This is because of me, and that is because of me, and the world is caving in because of me. That's your ego overly expressing itself. So we see this in arguments. We see this, when we're having conflict interpersonally with those that are close to us. We see that when we're struggling in maybe our careers or workplaces. We see that when we're struggling in our finances. We see that when we're struggling even in our health. There's a lot of people out there that struggle with, ooh, I look too fat, or if I wear this, they're going to see all my rolls, or if I eat this, oh, I'm a bad person because I ate this, and this eating this, doesn't align with that perceived identity that I want to maintain and keep and portray to those around me, right? So our ego works in those types of ways, right? So I'm speaking on the ego for the point of noting that we have to find ways to detach from our egos. Okay. So, in detaching from our egos, there's certain things we can think about. Think about that child that throws a tantrum. They want their way, they want what they want right there. They want that toy, they want your attention. They're maybe yelling, maybe screaming, maybe crying, maybe they're throwing things, maybe they're throwing their body all over the place. They're just doing everything they can to get your attention to let you know that something is not right, right? So, when we have those fits in our adult lives, because we all do, we argue, we fuss, we fight, we cry, we're the victim, everyone's out to get us. When we have these moments in life and we're wondering why we're not able to move forward, that's because our egos have stifled us. So, this is how you detach from your ego. And I'm going to give you some questions. Ask yourself these things. One, what was it that came over you? Okay. So if you just got in an argument with your spouse, what was it that came over you at that moment? What happened? Like, was it a wave of anger or rage or dissatisfaction or fear or embarrassment or just discouragement or frustration? What is it that came over you? Okay. What, number two, what did it feel like? So now we're getting deeper into the feelings, okay? So if you're feeling angry, anger is a secondary emotion, right? So what's under the anger? Really dig deep. Like, is it really like discouragement? Is it fear? Is it just despair? Is it shame? Is it guilt? Like, really, what's under that anger, right? Did it have a name? So name it. Name what it was that came over you. Maybe you could call it like your Cruella, your Sasha, your boss. My boss came out of me. Whatever it is, name it. It helps to name it because that's how you detach from that ego to actually identify it for what it is. A lot of times we don't even know what's happened. All we know is we don't feel right, and we have to let everybody know we don't feel right. But to separate our core identities, our core selves from that ego, you really have to detach from it. So name it, like think about Beyonce's Sasha Fierce character, right? She named her ego, Sasha Fierce. And if we go a little deeper, Sasha Fierce is actually a very famous author that's written a book of shadows on Wicca. But that's a whole nother situation, right? But just think about it. She named her ego, Sasha Fierce. So what would you call this character that comes out of you when you're frustrated and upset and throwing an adult tantrum? Okay. So now that we have a name for it, what would it look like? So when we're in this mood, if we could characterize this person, this entity, what would it be wearing? Would it be wearing a suit? Would it be wearing, I don't know, a short dress? Would its hair be done a certain way or dyed a certain way? Or what type of attitude would this character, your egoic character, have, right? Once you've kind of identified those feelings, once you've named it, now we need to know like what causes this? When does he come out to play? When does this egoic part of you come out the most often? Think about these things. This is how you detach from it. If you could see it, we kind of identified what it looked like. Now, once you kind of step back from a situation that maybe where you've kind of acted out and thrown this tantrum, now I want you to ask, okay, is it sleep now? Is it sleep? And being that egoic character is sleep now, what does that other form of you look like? So what would this character be? Your spiritual side. What would you call that character? Is it the strategic planner? Is it the caring, loving, understanding you? What does that side of you look like too? All right. And then lastly, when did you see it come back? So at what points during your week did you see it come back? So you see how we kind of created space around those thoughts and those behaviors? You have to step away from that egoic self to really understand it and to really grow and build that self-awareness of what it is. And I'm saying this all to say that, your peace is the most important thing that the universe, that God, that source has given you. We live in this kind of good, bad and evil, happy, sad environment. And it's very hard with all of the duality and the polarity to really navigate and manage our emotions. But in order to do so, you have to detach from your ego. So, ask yourself these questions when things are out of control, when your emotions are out of control, when you feel out of control, because it's very important to be able to detach so that you can maintain your peace. All right. If you have any questions about any of this, reach out. If you're wanting more information on how to manage your egoic caricature, please reach out to Myers Life Coaching. We're here. We work with people. I'll recommend The New Earth by Eckhart Tolle. That book really goes deep into explaining how our ego characters can kind of run the show and deter and to take us away from happiness. And happiness, oh, I want to be happy. I hear that all the time. But what does happy really truly mean? And do you really understand what unhappy is? Because in order to be happy, you have to go through the unhappiness, accept the unhappiness, acknowledge the unhappiness so that you can move past that ego, detach, and find your peace. All right. Mine's life.
6, 7, 8, feeling great. 9, gonna shine, life is good. I'm doing fine, 10, gonna do it right and do it again, yeah. I look into the sky with all its beautiful color, but there's more than just for me, so gonna share it with another. I got to show, to give, let out. I want to sing and shout, take a look and see a beautiful morning that turns into a beautiful evening, and together make a beautiful life. And if you wanna see, then come along with me, that's right. And if you want a good tomorrow, it's pretty simple, gotta find a way to follow. And if you do, you have
The Myers helped me face the issues that were tearing my relationship apart. They provided a safe environment to work through those difficult issues associated with our children, work, finances, trust, and intimacy. I feel I achieved a closeness and a renewed commitment to my relationship. I highly encourage couples to face their challenges and give the Myers a call.
We want to thank the Myers for all of their support. We were on the brink of a divorce.
We just could not communicate. We would have the same argument over and over again.
But after a great deal of reflection, we actually enjoy being around each other again. You taught us skills that have helped us manage conflict.
Yeah, we had a great spiritual conversation with a couple that had vested interest in helping us find our peace.
As a startup entrepreneur, I have been able to leverage the Myers coaching. First of all, they are a sounding board for my personal anxieties as I develop and fine-tune my leadership. I would get so irritated. I now have a plan to manage my anger and a support system that holds me accountable. They are non-judgmental people with tremendous skill and talent, an asset for anyone trying to develop professionally.